आदरणीय गुरुजनों, गुणीजनों, प्रिय साथियों व प्यारे बच्चों, नमस्कार। जैसा आप सभी जानते ही हैं, पूरा भारत देश 12 जनवरी 2021 को स्वामी विवेकानंद जी का 159वां जन्म दिवस राष्ट्रीय युवा दिवस नेशनल यूथ डे के रूप में मना रहा है। CCRT भी इस अवसर पर 2 नए कार्यक्रमों की शुरुआत कर रहा है। उनमें से एक है आओ सुने कहानी, जिसमें आप सभी हर एपिसोड में एक नई शख्सियत से मिलेंगे जो आपको किसी एक नए विचारक, लेखक, कवि या प्रसिद्ध व्यक्ति के जीवन यात्रा के किस्से, कहानियाँ, संस्मरण आदि तो सुनाएंगे ही, साथ ही साथ उनके विचारों, दर्शन और संदेशों की जानकारी भी देंगे। चूंकि इस कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत स्वामी विवेकानंद जी के जन्म दिवस पर हो रही है, तो उनकी जीवन यात्रा से जुड़े कुछ किस्से, कहानियाँ व उनके विचार जानने के लिए आज हमने CCRT में आमंत्रित किया है स्वामी शांत आत्मानंद जी को, जो कि रामकृष्ण मिशन दिल्ली केंद्र के मुखिया हैं, साथ ही साथ एक कुशल प्रशासक हैं, आध्यात्मिक प्रचारक भी हैं। स्वामी जी ने स्वामी विवेकानंद के आदर्शों पर आधारित नैतिक शिक्षा के बहुत सारे कार्यक्रम स्कूल और कॉलेज के बच्चों के लिए आयोजित किए हैं। उनका जीवन नैतिक शिक्षा के लिए समर्पित है। तो चलिए आज की कहानी स्वामी शांत आत्मानंद जी से CCRT के स्टूडियो से। धन्यवाद।
Today we are going to tell you the story of a very unique and extraordinary personality. While all of us are always afraid of death, this person was the embodiment of fearlessness. He was ever ready to welcome death. He is no other than Swami Vivekananda. Today we are going to tell you the story of a very unique and extraordinary personality. While all of us are always afraid of death, this person was the embodiment of fearlessness. He was ever ready to welcome death. He is no other than Swami Vivekananda, one of the greatest patriots to have ever been born in this country. The great Mahatma Gandhi visited Belur Math in the year 1921. He visited the room where Swami Vivekananda used to stay, and before going he wrote in the visitor's book, I have gone through his works thoroughly, and after reading them, my love for my country has grown 1,000-fold. This was Mahatma Gandhi's opinion about Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda was known as Narendranath in his childhood. This Naren had very extraordinary characteristics. Every day he would go to sleep in a very unique manner. Of course, he was not even aware of this. Only when he met his Guru Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they later asked him how he went to sleep. Naren thought that it was nothing very strange and every child would go to sleep the same way. But indeed it was very different. As soon as he would lie down, as sleep was enveloping him, a small speck of light would appear between his eyebrows. It would slowly become bigger and bigger and finally become a huge ball of white light and flood his entire personality. That is how he would go to sleep. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told him that he was a great yogi and that is why he went to sleep that way. There are many interesting anecdotes of his childhood. He was a Dhyana Siddha or an adept in meditation from his very birth. One day, Naren was playing the game of meditation with his friends in the terrace of his house. Suddenly, a fairly large cobra appeared on the scene and with its hood raised was approaching the boys. While all the other boys ran out of fear, Naren continued to meditate. The cobra came fairly near him, but then soon went away without harming Narendranath. Later on, when friends asked him as to whether he was not afraid, he said that I was not even aware of the snake. I was so deeply absorbed in meditation, I did not notice the snake at all. That's how Narendranath was from his boyhood. Of course, he had a tremendous perseverance and he would stick to truth at any cost. He would never resort to falsehood under any circumstances. And he was fearless virtually from his very young days. In school also, once his teacher said something which was not correct. Narendranath was bold enough to correct him, but the teacher became very angry and beat him up severely. He twisted his ear to such an extent that it started bleeding. But Narendranath did not budge from his stand because he was stickler for truth. He came back and narrated this story to his mother and said that he would not go to the school again. But his mother told him that he should never bend his head down before anything that was untruth and should always be fearless. So that was how his boyhood was. There were many interesting incidents. Anyway, as he grew up, he was deeply possessed by a thought whether God really existed. He was in his teens and he went to most of the prominent spiritual personalities of the time and asked them the question whether they have seen God. None of them could give a satisfactory answer. So his search continued. Finally, someone referred him to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, a mystic saint who was then staying at the Kali temple of Dakshineshwar in the suburbs of Calcutta. Finally, when he reached him and asked him also the same question, he was stunned beyond belief when Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told him that not only has he seen God, but he can also show it to Narendranath. He said, I see him more clearly than I see you. So Narendranath was completely swept over by this assertion of Sri Ramakrishna and he started visiting him frequently. That is how his tutelage under Sri Ramakrishna began. But it was a hard struggle because Narendranath was extremely rationalistic by nature and would not believe anything unless he could verify it for himself. He would not believe if someone said something, he had to be convinced himself. So he struggled for almost 3 to 4 years before he could fully accept Sri Ramakrishna. Again and again he tested him on several occasions, and every time he found that he was defeated and Sri Ramakrishna always won. So finally he was fully convinced about Sri Ramakrishna. In fact, he conducted a test at the very last moment of Sri Ramakrishna's sojourn on earth. Sri Ramakrishna was on his deathbed at that time, because even by then a number of people had started proclaiming Sri Ramakrishna as an avatara or as God incarnate on earth. But Narendranath was not believing all those statements. So then, at that moment, it flashed in his mind that if Sri Ramakrishna were to clearly declare who he was, now at this stage, because Sri Ramakrishna was suffering from a very severe form of throat cancer and he was in excruciating pain all the time, and his days were practically numbered. He was to live only for the next couple of days or so. So Narendranath thought that if Sri Ramakrishna would declare about himself now, then he would believe. Instantaneously, Sri Ramakrishna said, Naren, even now you have doubts. He who came as Rama and he who came as Krishna is Ramakrishna in this body, but not in your Vedantic sense. क्योंकि वेदांत के अनुसार हम सब समझते हैं, मानते हैं, सब एक ब्रह्म छोड़ के कुछ भी नहीं है, एक चैतन्य है सर्वत्र. So that is our idea, that there is one all-pervading consciousness. So Sri Ramakrishna clearly said, it's not in that sense. So Narendranath was obviously deeply affected by the Mahasamadhi or the exit of Sri Ramakrishna from this earth, but then he had a mission, because during his tutelage under Sri Ramakrishna, when he was really struggling for his own vision of God, Sri Ramakrishna once asked him, because again and again Narendranath was pestering him for some spiritual experience. Sri Ramakrishna ने उनको पूछा, नरेंद्र तुम क्या चाहते हो बताओ तो, what do you want? Then Narendranath said that मैं हमेशा समाधि में डूब रहना चाहता हूँ, लेकिन बीच बीच में थोड़ा वही अवस्था से उतर के थोड़ा कुछ शरीर रक्षा करने के लिए कुछ लूँगा, फिर समाधि से डूब जाऊँगा. He said that I would always remain immersed in samadhi, but once in a way come out to have a morsel of food for the preservation of the body and then dive deep again into samadhi. Any other guru would have been extremely happy with such a statement from a disciple, but not Sri Ramakrishna. उन्होंने कहा, ये क्या है? What a small-minded person you are. मैंने सोचा तुम एक बहुत बड़ा वटवृक्ष की तरह बनोगे, उसकी कोई पेड़ की छाया के अंदर हजार लोग आश्रय लेंगे. I thought you will become a huge banyan tree under the shades of which thousands of scorched souls would take shelter, and you are thinking about your own mukti. Don't you know that there is something bigger than this? Don't you sing that song, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है, whatever is there is only you? Do you want to see God only with eyes open? Can he not be seen with eyes closed? Can he not be seen with eyes open? So that day Narendranath learned something new. He knew that he had something else to do. There were also other incidents through which Sri Ramakrishna made him clearly understand that he has come to earth for a special purpose, for a special mission, namely to show a path of redemption for the entire mankind. So after the exit of Sri Ramakrishna, he went on a Bharat Parikrama. By the time he had practically embraced formal monasticism. He was a monk, as it was the custom of monks in those days, perhaps to some extent even now. Monks would always be going from place to place, rather they would not stay in the same place for a long time. And as Parivrajak, they would go from one place of pilgrimage to another. नरेंद्रनाथ भी उसमें वो सन्यासी हो गए थे, उन्होंने अपना भारत परिक्रमा शुरू किया था, सारा भारत उन्होंने भ्रमण किया. So he lived as the guests of Maharajas, also in the humble kutiyas of very ordinary people, the poor and the downtrodden. So उन्होंने सारा भारत का पूरी तरह समझ लिया था. He could really get the pulse and the feeling of the entire country. That is why, later on you could work out, wonderful solutions for the redemption of our motherland. So उन्होंने ये सारा भारत परिक्रमा के अंदर देखा, उन्होंने ये देश एक समय उसके बारे में सब कहते थे सोने की चिड़िया, कैसे इतना गरीब हो गया. A nation which was considered as one of the richest at some time in the none too past distant history, how it had become so poor, full of superstition and illiteracy. Then and there he said that this country, if it is to be regenerated, it needs to be educated. He said spread of education was extremely important for the regeneration of India. Now, as he went on this parikrama, finally he reached the southernmost tip of India, namely Kanyakumari. There, the confluence of 3 oceans are there. He was standing there and he was looking at a rock at quite a distance in the mid-sea. वहाँ से दूर वो देख रहे थे एक बहुत बड़ा पत्थर है, वहाँ वो जाना चाहता था, वहाँ जाके वो बैठ के ध्यान करेंगे. लेकिन उनका कैसे वहाँ जाए, नाव वाले के पूछा, लेकिन नाव वाले के दिन पैसा नहीं था उनके पास. So he decided to swim those shark infested waters, and he finally reached that rock, and there he meditated 3 days and 3 nights continuously. 3 दिन 3 रात वो ध्यान में रहे, ध्यान में मग्न रहे. What exactly happened during that time, we do not have any clear or full description. लेकिन it's very clear, before his mind unfolded a complete map for the regeneration of our motherland. ये भारत की ये अतीत की जो सौंदर्य, अतीत की जो महत्व, उस समय का दुर्दशा, भविष्य में फिर उज्जवल होगा, सब उन्होंने समझ पाए. He was aware of India's great past, the current degradation and the future glory, and he had a blueprint. So he decided that he would go to the west to find funds for his work in India. उसके बाद उन्होंने धीरे धीरे पश्चिम देश में, विशेष रूप से उसमें अमेरिका में शिकागो में एक धर्म महासभा होने वाला था. There was a parliament of religions to take place in the city of Chicago. So he decided to go to America and take part in the World Parliament of Religions to be held in Chicago in the year 1893. लेकिन यही डिसीजन उन्होंने सहज में नहीं ले पाया था, क्योंकि ऐसे कभी कोई प्लेटफॉर्म में खड़ा होके पहले उन्होंने कभी नहीं बोला था. He never stood up and lectured on a platform, from a platform. Apart from that, ऐसे कोई धर्म महासम्मेलन में भाग लेंगे ऐसे भी उन्होंने सोचा भी नहीं था. लेकिन उन्हें उस समय श्री शारदा देवी, श्री रामकृष्ण देव की धर्मपत्नी, उन्होंने पत्र लिखा. जब उनकी आशीर्वाद मिला, उन्होंने उस समय निर्णय लिया मैं जरूर जाऊंगा. Of course, tickets were arranged by the Raja of Khetri, who also got him a very good dress for the occasion. तो अमेरिका उन्होंने चले गए. He left on ship to conquer America virtually. लेकिन उस देश का क्या स्थिति, क्या परिसर है, what is the ambience, he had no idea about that. He went there in the robes of a sannyasi. वहाँ तो उनके अजीब तरह देखने लगे. They were wondering who is this strange creature who has come from some other country. So बहुत जाके भी उनका बहुत दिक्कत हुआ. Sometimes people would pull his turban, they will tug at his cloth or things like that. So slowly he was getting used, but then he had also other difficulties. उनके पास बहुत ही कम पैसा था. Suddenly he found that the parliament was to take place some months later, because he left India on the 31st of May. The parliament was to begin only in September. So how to spend the intervening time? He had neither the money, and it was getting cold, very cold in America. He had no address, he has no one to host him. Somehow he was surviving, and he had no letter of introduction. And then he was told that without a letter of introduction, no one will be allowed as a delegate in the Parliament of Religions. But then he met a very famous professor, Professor Wright, who himself wrote a letter of introduction. He wrote that this person is more learned than all your professors put together. And asking him for credentials is like asking the sun for its right to shine. Such a beautiful introduction he wrote, and he came to Chicago. Again, Chicago had no address. He had even lost that paper which was given by Professor Wright to him, because he was totally unworldly, a person who had no idea about the practical aspects of life like managing money, etc., etc. Because he was born that way, he was a born sannyasi, so to say. And then finally, just like India, totally exhausted, he sat on the doorsteps of somebody, because he had no money, no place to stay, he had no spare clothes, he was so hungry also. Suddenly a lady from the opposite house opened the doors, came out and asked him, "Are you a delegate for the Parliament of Religions?" And he said, "Yes." She said, "You come with me." She took him, she made all arrangements for him, and she was none other than Mrs. Hale, whom Swamiji always used to call as his mother. Just as he had a mother in India, this Mrs. Hale was his mother in America, so to say. From that time onwards, she took complete care of him, and then she personally took him to the Parliament of Religions. So he saw it was a huge crowd of several thousand delegates. People from all over the world had come there, and all of them had prepared speeches. He had nothing with him. So whenever the announcer would ask him to speak, he would say later, later, later. Finally, when it was not possible to postpone his appearance anymore, he got up, he mentally prayed to Mother Saraswati and started his address, Sisters and Brothers of America, an address which has become world famous today. Instantaneously, the entire audience stood up and gave him a standing ovation for several minutes. Somehow, it had such an electric effect on the audience. It was not that people had not used better language to address their audience. It was not mere words. By the time, Swami Vivekananda had advanced so far in his spiritual journey, he could feel oneness with the entire humanity. When he addressed the audience as Sisters and Brothers of America, he could really feel that kind of oneness with them in a spiritual sense, and that is how the address brought such a tremendous response from the audience. उन्होंने जैसे ही बोला, सुन के सब लोग अनुभव किए उनके साथ एक तरीका, आप कह सकते हैं, एकत्व. उस दिन से सबसे प्रसिद्ध स्पीकर वो हो गए अमेरिका में. He was the person who conquered the parliament. उन्होंने बहुत सारे भाषण दिए थे. In fact, from that time onwards, whenever the organizers saw people leaving, सब उठ के चल रहे हैं, उनका इतना ही करना था, कुछ समय के बाद विवेकानंद भाषण देंगे, सब बैठ जाते थे. He had become so famous. It was something extraordinary. उनकी सबसे बड़ी वहाँ एक प्रसिद्ध भाषण was his address about the harmony of religions. क्योंकि पहली बार ऐसी कोई एक विश्व स्तरीय कोई प्लेटफॉर्म में खड़े होके कोई धर्म समन्वय की बात किया था. इनफैक्ट nobody had spoken about the harmony of religions from such a big platform before in the world. लेकिन ये तो भारतीय परंपरा में तो हजार साल से हैं. एकम सद विप्रा बहुधा वदंती, the truth is one, sages call it variously. ये तो हजार साल की पुरानी बात है. लेकिन in the other parts of the world, particularly in Semitic religions, the idea of the concept of harmony of religions was unknown. They all believed that their way was the only way, whether our way or no way. But then here is a person who was talking a different language. He clearly said that we not only tolerate other religions, we accept every religion as equally true and valid. To illustrate his point, he told a beautiful story, and that really captured the imagination of the audiences. He said that once there was a frog in a well. He was very happy. He thought that the whole world was a little well and he was cozy and comfortable there. एक दिन किसी तरह अचानक एक समुद्र की मेंढक वही कुएं के अंदर गिर गया था. The frog of the well said, तुम कौन हो, कहाँ से आए हो? Then the frog of the sea said, मैं तो समुद्र से आया हूँ. समुद्र वो क्या है? मेरे कुएं से बड़ा है, तेरे वो छलांग मारा इस तरह से उस तरह. अरे तुम क्या बोल रही हो? कुएं का समुद्र की कोई क्या तुलना हो सकता है क्या? कितनी बड़ा है समुद्र में, कैसे तुम समझाओ? तो मेरे साथ आओ, तुमको दिखाऊंगा. नहीं, तुम मेरा ऐसे करके एक कुएं हड़पना चाहते हो. You want to cheat me? You get out. There can be nothing bigger than my well. And the whole audience burst into laughter. He said, that is the problem. The Hindu is sitting in his own little well and thinks that the whole world is his well. The Christian sits in his own little well and thinks that the whole world is little well. The Mohammedan thinks the same way, sitting in his own well. So he said that it can never be achieved, the growth or glory of any religion at the expense of anything else. And he said, upon the banner of every religion would be written, in spite of resistance, harmony and peace. So that was his message. So he became so famous. In fact, that is the time the idea of interfaith harmony, etc., the work began in a serious note for the first time in the world. Today we have seen much of all that happening. Then he stayed in the West for almost 4 years, went to England also twice. Everywhere he was a huge success, and after firmly sowing the seeds for the spread of the Vedanta movement in the West, he returned to India. So he really said, I have a message for the West, just as Buddha had a message for the East. His idea was to exchange the ideas of Vedanta in the West and in turn gather some funds for his work in India. Of course, he could spread the message of Vedanta very well, but the gathering of funds or collection of money was not much possible because he was absolutely incapable of raising funds and all that. He came back to India in 1897. He was a huge success in India. He traveled all over the country and gave very inspiring lectures. But one of the most remarkable achievements of the work after his coming to India was the establishment of the Ramakrishna Mission. On the 1st of May 1897, in a place in Calcutta, it's called Balram Mandir, that is even now there. There he formally announced the formation of the Ramakrishna Mission. Because, he had toured the length and breadth of India on foot. He saw in the society there was so much need for service. People were languishing in poverty and illiteracy and so on. At the same time, a small section of people withdrew themselves from the entire society. They had become all-renouncing monks and they were practicing the ideas of Vedanta. He said that no, is it possible to give a new orientation to this idea of Vedanta itself? Can it be made practical? Can the Vedanta which has been confined to the forest, can it be brought to the marketplace? Of course, this was not his own idea. उन्होंने बहुत जगह में कहा, मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ सब मैं श्री रामकृष्ण देव के चरणों में वहाँ बैठ के जो शिक्षा प्राप्त किया वही मैं बता रहा हूँ, मेरा अपना कुछ भी नहीं है। क्योंकि एक दिन श्री रामकृष्ण देव के कक्ष में श्री रामकृष्ण देव वैष्णव धर्म के बारे में बात कर रहे थे। वैष्णव धर्म के अंदर 3 प्रधान चीज़ रहता है। एक है नाम पे रुचि, टेस्ट फॉर द लॉर्ड्स नेम, जीव पर दया और वैष्णव सेवा। ने पहले नाम पे रुचि बोला, दूसरा शब्द जो जीव पर दया, जैसे उन्होंने उच्चारण किया श्री रामकृष्ण देव समाधिस्थ हो गए। उस अवस्था से उन्होंने उतर के आए, कहा छी ये क्या है, जीव पर दया कैसे संभव है? जीव खुद ही इतनी एक शुद्र एक वस्तु है, कैसे दूसरी जीव की दया कैसे दिखा सकते हैं? दया नहीं है, सेवा, शिव ज्ञान से जीव सेवा। नॉट कंपैशन but service of God in man. Every human being should be considered as a veritable manifestation of God, and then and only then service is possible. Compassion is something impossible for human beings who are so insignificant as worms. तो उस दिन नरेंद्रनाथ भी वही कक्ष में उपस्थित थे। उन्होंने कहा मैं आज नया कुछ सुना, किसी दिन भगवान मेरा मौका दे तो मैं सारे जगत के सामने इसकी प्रकट करूँगा। So, when he established the Ramakrishna mission, he gave a twofold ideal or a twin objective to the mission, namely, Atmano Mokshartam Jagat Hitaya cha, spiritual welfare or evolution of the individual, at the same time, service to mankind. इसलिए he set up a new type of a monastery, एक नया उन्होंने सन्यासी संप्रदाय उन्होंने सृष्टि किया, जिसके अंदर साधना और सेवा दोनों चलेगा, where both sadhana or spiritual practices as well as service would go hand in hand. He said, my monks would this moment dive deep into meditation and at the very next moment come out and sell the produce in the market. These are the type of monks he wanted to produce. So today, the Ramakrishna mission is known all over the world. We have about 160 centers in India and about another 40 centers or so in other countries. We are into every dimension of social service. We run large number of schools, colleges, even an university, any number of dispensaries, a few hospitals and other medical institutions. We have a lot of rural and tribal development work. Whenever there is any natural or other calamity, the Ramakrishna mission is the first to go there to render service. Every year we will be happy to know that crores of people are getting treatment through our hospital and dispensaries, largely free and in some places at some very nominal charges. So, through this Ramakrishna mission, he wanted to establish a new ideal for the entire world, more particularly to our country, that your life would become meaningful only if it is spent in the service of others. आपके खुद के लिए आप हमेशा रहें, आपकी जीवन व्यर्थ है. Swamiji said somewhere, he alone lives who lives for others, the rest are more dead than alive. So, he was such an extraordinary personality. He hardly lived 40 years. When he attained Mahasamadhi, he was 39 years, some months. So, in fact, the world is yet to fully understand Swami Vivekananda. He had given such wonderful messages for our countrymen. He inspired the youth. He said, youths will work out my message. I believe they are the people who are going to work for the regeneration of our motherland. So, that's a separate topic by itself. But then, if we try to understand Swamiji, in fact, I would say that our country's destiny, its future, its growth is largely linked to our understanding of Swami Vivekananda. But he was such a myriad-minded genius. it's not so easy to understand him unless we really give our best effort, unless we try to live at least in a small way in the direction that he talked about. I would like to end with a quote where one of his very famous Western disciples spoke about him in a reminiscence of Swami Vivekananda. उनके अपना स्मृति चरण के लिए उसके अंदर उन्होंने ये कहा, at long intervals of time a being finds his way to this planet who is undoubtedly a wanderer from another sphere. He brings along with him to this sorrowful world some of the power, glory and radiance of the far distant region from which he came. He walks among men, but he is not at home here. He is a traveler, a wanderer. He tarries but a night. Blessed is the world in which he was born. Blessed, thrice blessed are the people who lived on this earth at the same time. And blessed, thrice blessed are the few who sat at his feet. Thank you.